very warm good evening, students. So today I'll explain the lesson 2, dear. Okay. So for the sake of convenience, so that you all can understand better, I have divided the lesson into 2 parts. So today we will deal with the first part. Okay, students. This story, Two Deer, I won't explain the title first. Who is Two Deer? Whether it's a person or a thing or an animal. Let us speak about that later. But let us dive into the story now directly. So this is the story, and it's this fictitious kingdom Monaco, where we are told the population was only 7,000. Okay, so it comprised of only 7,000 people, and even the land area of that place was only like around 7,000 acres. Okay, so in this kingdom, students, it was ruled by a king. Okay, and but we are told, students, although it was a small kingdom, it had all the features of a larger kingdom. Like for example, it had a church, it had the church, the bishop, the judicial system, and not only that, it had the ceremonies like coronation and levees. Now, what are coronation? Coronation is a ceremony when a king assumes the throne, and the power is given to him. So that ceremony is referred to as coronation ceremony. Levees are, students, what to put it in simple words, what we call red carpet welcome. When some guests or some foreign dignitaries are coming to your country or to your kingdom, they are welcomed with a lot of pomp and ceremony. So the term for that is levees. So all that was there in the kingdom. Now you can imagine, students, we generally, a citizen, why do we pay taxes? Because the smaller things of our life, like looking after our family, doing our job, sending our children to schools or colleges, can all be taken care by us. But there are some bigger things in life, like about mostly comprising of law, order, um, maintenance of maintenance of roads, etc. So electricity. So all that, we have a machinery, okay, a kind of a government which takes care of all these issues. So that mostly, students, it's about that every man gets his due, everything works smoothly, so that we pay taxes. The purpose of paying taxes, all the other issues are taken care of, so that we can focus in our daily life and our daily cause, or the occupations of our life. Now, in this kingdom also, students, there are taxes, like they had taxes on tobacco, on wine, they had poll tax. Poll tax or taxes which are, to do with election and extracted for that purpose. So in Monaco kingdom, naturally the king has to maintain the kingdom. And as I told your students, although it's a small kingdom, the king did not probably believe in taking shortcuts or believing in being frugal or simplistic. Everything was what you say, they imitated the larger kingdoms in every aspect. So for that, now they need money. So of course, as I told her, they collected taxes from all these. But mostly, students, we are told that the major source of taxes for the king of Monaco was the taxes that he got from gaming houses. Gaming houses means gambling dens, okay, the place where people gamble. Now, we are told, students, all the neighboring kingdoms, they had abolished gambling. Okay, like the France, which was a neighbor of Monaco, Italy, which was a neighbor of Monaco, they had abolished gambling. So anyone caught gambling could be subjected to punishment. It was considered illegal. But in Monaco, the king allowed gambling. Now, before we move further, students, I will explain a little about gambling and why it is why these kingdoms must have abolished them, or declared them as illegal. Now, if you understand, students, many a times gambling, as you know, what we say, where people bet or lay their stakes on money, and then it's more about luck and all that. So it is considered a vice. Like for example, smoking, consuming alcohol or consuming drugs are all considered illegal, and they're considered mostly, mainly, more than illegal part, it is considered as a vice, V-I-C-E, as a bad habit. Why is it a bad habit? It's a bad habit because students, when a person cultivates these vices, his conscience is numbed. Okay, he loses all sense of discretion or fair play, or he completely kind of, this bad habit or this vice starts ruling his life. He's completely overpowered by it. The man can see his doom. He can see that he is destroying himself. He can see the destruction that he has brought in his life. But yet he cannot control himself, okay? Because he has become a slave to that vice. Like, for example, the same with, a man who is a drunkard. So, or a man who, consumes drugs. These are people who have become slaves, what we call drug addicts or an alcoholic. Okay, so they have become slaves to that habit, and for that, students, they can go to any extent. Okay, they don't have any conscience. They don't have any, what you can say, any sense of dignity or respect left in them. They can go to any heights just to indulge their vice. And that is why students, as they say, the first time every time. That means, students, what we are saying here is that definitely a man who must have taken his first peg, the thought must have not come in his mind, okay, now I'll become an alcoholic and lead my life as a wastrel. Or a drug addict must have not thought that, okay, now I'll become a drug addict and spend my life like that. Okay, the first time only they could not stop themselves. Okay, first time probably they must have said, let me try. And then gradually, they must have not even realized when this vice, when this bad habit started ruling their lives. Okay, their life only became about indulging their vice. I'm not saying all alcoholics or all people who consume alcohol are like that, but some have really gone from bad to worse. Similarly, students, when it comes to gambling, now gambling is something, as you know, it's like a game which money is at stake, and you either win money or you lose money. Now, it is something where you cannot control yourself. Most people lose control, because once a gambler goes and starts playing or betting or whatever, even if he loses money, he thinks, okay, let me play more and recover the money that I have lost. If he starts winning and gaining money, then maybe the thought comes to his mind that today is my lucky day, so let me earn more. This is a temptation we cannot resist. And we have so many stories, especially in India, students, we have so many mythical stories, legends and folklore, where people had completely become, were completely ruined. Kingdoms were vanquished because of this vices like gambling. For example, in Mahabharata also you see, students, the Pandavas, they lost everything, and the man Dhritarashtra, okay, who was, they say, he was an absolute paragon of, what you can say, of justice, and he always believed in fair play. But that day when someone extended an invitation to him to gamble, he said that he accepted it. And the reason he gave was that he was a Kshatriya, so Kshatriyas can never decline a challenge. So it is always like that, whenever people indulge in some vice, or when they are doing something, uh, they know somewhere that what they are doing is wrong, but then they have some kind of flimsy justification for it. And they feel they are cheating people all around them, but in reality they are only cheating themselves by these lame excuses. So that is why, as I told you all, gambling is a thing that people have ruined themselves. And it's not just about you, they have ruined their families, everything is lost, all their wealth, riches, everything is lost. And many a time, students, we hear about people who borrow money in order to gamble. You can imagine that is such a risky thing. So what happens is, this is not their money. They have lost somebody else's money. Now the person who has lended the money, okay, the money lender is not going to spare you. So another problem has come in your life where he is pursuing you day and night to and asking his money back. So one problem has led to so many. So these people, many a times when they don't find a way out, then finally, by the time they learn their lessons, probably it is too late, and then the only option left for them is to end their life. It's a kind of an escapism, you can say. They have created mountains of problems for themselves, for their family members, but then they take an easy escape route and they end their life by drowning or committing suicide or something like that. So in the neighboring kingdoms also, why they had abolished gambling? Because they realized how it destroyed people, how it ruined people, and most importantly, how so many people lost their lives due to gambling. Okay, now, so this much about gambling. Now, as you all know, students, but the king of Monaco, he did not abolish gambling. In fact, he allowed gambling in his kingdom, so there were many gaming houses. Now, as there were many gaming houses in Monaco and gambling was considered legal and an accepted thing, even those gamblers from the neighboring kingdom who could not resist or could not stay without gambling, from France, from Italy, would come to Monaco to gamble. So in the bargain, what happened, students? The people of those gaming houses, who I'm saying the owners, okay, of the gaming houses, they accumulated a lot of wealth and they paid a lot of taxes to the king. So the only two people, you can say, as such, were benefiting from this, who the owners of the gaming houses and the king. All others were only ruined because of gaming houses. But then, students, the king had an attitude where, that I don't care, because as you know, students, he had a justification for it. He would say that you cannot earn stone palace by honest labor. That means, students, what the king was trying to justify, he would say, isn't tobacco bad? So we are getting money from tobacco, although tobacco is a dangerous thing, it's a fatal thing. We extract taxes from, wines and winemakers and wine sellers. Isn't wine a vice? Then what is the big issue about gambling? And moreover, students, as I told you all, when he said you cannot earn stone palace by honest labor, the meaning is, when you have to really make a lot of money in life, it is okay if you take some kind of unjust or you take recourse to some kind of unjust or criminal means in order to make money. Okay, in English we have another saying which comes very, very close to this one. It says that if, behind every great fortune there is a crime. What is the meaning, students? This saying also says that, many a times we see people who have become rich in leaps and bounds. That means in a matter of a few months or few years, they have amassed so much wealth. And you wonder how they managed to do that. So you should understand, students, these people, somewhere they have manipulated, they have molded the law or the rules and taken some wrong route, and that's why they could amass so much wealth. Okay, we are not talking about people who have worked very hard for 10, 20, 25 years and then created a big empire or wealth for themselves. We are talking of those people who, sometimes in a matter of few months or years have amassed so much wealth. So we can be assured that definitely they have done something criminal, and that is how they could amass this wealth. So coming back to the story, students, so as I told you all, the king also, so he justified his action. He probably did not feel any remorse, because he used to say that if you have to really earn money, and as I told you all, he needed the money to run his kingdom, and the major chunk of that income came from gaming houses. So maybe he thought that if I abolish gambling in my kingdom, from where will I get the taxes? Okay, so that is why he allowed gambling. So this is the first part of the story. Okay, so I will go a little bit of the second part, students, the beginning of the story, because there I would like to explain many things. We are told that a murder is committed in that kingdom. Now, as I told you, it was a very small kingdom, and the population was very less, and mostly maybe people were law abiding or whatever, but this was the first time such a crime was committed in Monaco. And I told her they had a proper jury, judges who came together, and they had discussions that what is the punishment we give this man, and then they decided to execute him. Execute in the sense, students, they decided on death sentence. Okay, what is also called as capital punishment. Now, if you know, capital punishment is something that is in India also we have capital punishment. While most countries have abolished capital punishment, the most severe kind of punishment given is life imprisonment. Okay, but in India, capital punishment continues. Okay, because if you know, students, there are many, like in Kasab, the terrorist, okay, who was responsible for the Mumbai attacks. He was given, he was hanged to death. He was given capital punishment. Or for that matter, in Nirbhaya, the rapists, they were also given capital punishment. There are many people, students, who argue that capital punishment or taking someone's life is a very barbaric kind of an act, because who gives the law or the people of a country the right to take someone's life? Okay, life is given by God, and he only has the right to take it. No matter who that person is, whether he's a criminal, he's a monster, or whosoever, we don't have the right to take his life. When we are condemning him and saying that he has done something wrong, what are we doing by taking his life? This is an argument many people put forth. But as you know, students, we must give it that in India also, capital punishment is given in the rarest of rare cases, where the judge listens to all the arguments put forth, and then everything, there's a lot of discussion that takes place. For example, in Kasab's case, Ajmal Kasab, the man, the terrorist who was given the punishment, if you know, his case was fought close to a year in our Indian courts. And finally, when the judge had heard both the side of the argument, he finally gave his judgment, and that was he should be hanged to death. And the judge also explained that this man is a monster. He's inhuman. Okay, there is no hope for him, because students, whenever we give punishment to someone in our legal system, in a Constitution of India, that says the idea is not to torture someone or subject them to some kind of atrocities and cruelty. The idea there is the criminal should realize, okay, that what I have done is wrong, and then he must redeem himself. Okay, he must become a good human being and lead his life in a normal way. But then when capital punishment is given for those people who we believe there is no hope for them, they have crossed all the limits and they have become worse than monsters, so they cannot be reformed come what may, and that is why this punishment is given. So in Kasab's case also, the judge had given the sentence, and after that the explanation was also put forth, which I believe is also mandatory. And another very interesting thing, students, in India, after the judge pronounces like this man hanged to death, the punishment, and it's written with a fountain pen. After that, very symbolically, he presses the pen very hard and breaks the nib. The idea there is, that is, when breaking the nib, there is that in future this kind of punishment should not be awarded, that such a situation or circumstance should not come that we are forced, we are compelled to give such a punishment to a person. So this is about, as I told you, in India capital punishment still exists. As I told her, most countries have abolished, but in some countries it continues. As in India, capital punishment is by hanging the person. In some countries, they are made to sit on an electric chair and kill through electric shock. In medieval times,